Hello, welcome to Dasmore Wargaming. You've joined us for another episode of Behind the Brush. In this episode, we are joined by super special guest, Mr. I guess say it right, Mr. Mousekiller Miniatures. How's it going, man?
Good. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Oh no, anytime. You were definitely on one of the first ones on the list, man. Absolutely honoured to have you here. And as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Dante Paints. How's it going?
Good evening. I'm all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good. For you watching this on YouTube, we stream this live on Twitch. So if you want to be involved in these sort of recordings, hangout and hobbies and whatnot, then do consider going over and giving us a follow so you get notified when we go live and you can hang out with us with all this hobby goodness. Behind the Brush is where we get guests on. We get people that we look up to in the hobby community, people that we see that are doing really positive things, good things like that. We want to get them on, have a bit of an interview with them and just get to know them a little bit better, and just sort of share the hobby love, as the hashtag goes. We without further ado, I think we just go straight into these questions. Hopefully you're ready for them, MK.
I've studied long for this.
I hope you did. And I think we'll let my wonderful co-host kick us off if he's up for that.
It's my turn, is it? Okay, not a problem at all.
Yes.
So first up, when and how did you get into the hobby?
Well, yeah, so that was in the 90s, the 1990s. And I would say I had a very good friend of mine. I'd say he's my best friend, but we haven't talked in years, that got me into the hobby in the third edition of the game, of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And I started by collecting what I could afford back then, which was very little. But the other games that they were producing, the Hero Quest games, and then the little, you remember the side ones that they would produce for you get them for $15 and you get 8 or 9 miniatures. So I would collect those and I would paint them with my mother's oil paints, and they would look absolutely horrible. And then somehow I managed to grow from that early stage.
Wow. You've been doing it a little while then?
Yes. Yeah. Since the 90s, couple of breaks here and there.
Yeah.
And then I would say where I started to take it more seriously was in 2005. I've got a bit of a military background, and I had been gone for a while, and it was just a really bad time. And so the painting for me became more of a healing process. And that's when it became more of a, I took it a little more seriously, and I started to learn a lot more. Plus, at that point, the internet was booming a little bit more, and you could get out there and you could, interact with other people and learn techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, dude. Let's say for those that don't know, you are mostly known for your presence, sort of in the Instagram hobby community. But how long have you been an Instagram presence, and what sort of things can people expect to find on your account?
Well, so I've been doing it for two and a half years, give or take a few months. And I started that on a whim too, because I noticed somebody else's account, and I said, "Wow, that's kind of interesting. I'd like to do that." But for me, it's all about really giving back to the community, and it's about doing the things that we all like. It's exposing, especially newer artists, to the fact that we all go through the same trials and tribulations, right? We're all working class people. We're all, trying to survive in a full-time job, and then still carve out a couple of hours here and there to get some paint on miniatures, right? And there's a few really golden nuggets out there of great hobbyists that have managed to make this a full-time thing for themselves, but for the most of us, that's not it. And then so I just like to share my collection that I've been collecting for the course of 30 years, plus a little bit of commission work that I've picked up doing since that same time frame, about 2.5 years ago.
Right.
and just sharing it in the different venues that Instagram allows us to do. Why I chose Instagram, I don't know, but it's sort of the venue that I've stuck with. I'm on YouTube too, but not to the same degree as I am on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Do check out Mousekiller Miniatures, by the way, on Instagram as well. Well, while we're talking about it,
My cat claws at me.
Yeah, for the YouTube people, I'll link it in the description as well.
So, any particular advice for people wanting to start a hobby Instagram, particularly even just like the live side of it, rather than just obviously using it to post their photos of their work?
I would say don't be afraid to do it, you know, and all three of us here have done some of the live work, you know, back on Instagram, right? But don't be afraid to do it, and don't be afraid to reach out to others in the hobby that are doing it and asking questions. Because my experience so far is that, you know, 99 out of 100 people are willing to give you a positive answer back. So, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, just ask a question like, hey, if I try this. Instagram has a lot of little tricks and techniques that you have to get to know how to use before, you know, when I first started posting the reels as an example, I didn't know that you could put music to them. Right. And so I would play music in the background, and then I would get gigged for copyright, and expect copyright gigs, expect your post to be lowered for, you know, I think I did a dwarf one yesterday, carrying a cross or a ballista type bolt, and they lowered it for sexual content. They lowered the
right.
Right. So they're using AI like a lot of other folks. So just expect those things, and then just send a rebuttal in, and it'll come back. I think within a couple of minutes I got an answer back, and it got put back into its normal status. But you know, you can get gigged for crazy things. So,
or you have my stuff that's been filtered by the AI, and when you bounce it back, they turn around and say, "No, we're upholding our decision."
Yeah, and that's
and it doesn't get posted. I'm like, great, thanks.
No.
I've had that for copyright reasons before, and that's simply choosing the music they provide for you. So it's finicky, or then you travel to another country. And all of a sudden, that country flags your music choices. You know, so
yeah. I mean,
don't let it deter you, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. I mean, as you've said already, you know, you've been in the hobby for quite a while. You've painted a lot of miniatures in that time, you know, both yours and for other people, like through commissions and things like that. But what would you say has been your favorite thing to paint so far? And is there anything that you haven't painted that you would love to paint in the future?
Anything I haven't painted is everything.
Right.
Everything I haven't painted. I tell you, I'm always, you know, when there's a new release on something, I'm sort of like sitting on the ledge saying, okay, when can I fit that into my budget? When am I going to get that, you know, sent on its way? Still waiting on the Tomb Kings box to show up. It's been, you know, with UPS for about 5 weeks now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Favorite armies that I've painted, I would say continue to be, to this day, probably a tie between the orcs and the goblins and the dwarves. There's just something about painting those armies that are very relaxing for me.
Yeah. Is there any particular model in those ranges that sticks out for you?
The Skarsnik model, you know, the second rendition of him, where he's on the bigger platform with the bigger goblet. And then really any of the dwarf models. I'll tell you right now, I'm very impressed. I haven't painted them yet, but I'm very impressed with a company called Red Bard Games. And you've seen some of those reels that I've put in recently, but I signed on for their Kickstarter and I got their stuff in, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it's very, you know, classic feel. So it doesn't, you know, I'm not tied to any particular, you know, production unit. Like for me, it doesn't have to be Games Workshop. It can be anything.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and but for me, my brain still exists in the original Warhammer Fantasy. And so when I do paint, I paint with army sets in mind, and then I fit them into that theme, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
See, I'm going to take brief exception with my co-host to saying that you've been at Mousekiller's been in the hobby for a while because been in the hobby the same amount of time as me.
Oh yeah, then.
So you're not allowed to say that, Daz.
Gonna-
I'll talk to HR about you.
We have HR. Okay, no.
HR is rich.
There we go.
We'll have to inquire into our retirement benefits. That's how long we've been doing this.
Yeah.
To be fair, I started when I just turned 12, I think. So, following on from that, and I think I know partly the answer to this one already from what you've said in the answer to Daz's question. How many armies do you own, and which is your favorite? I think the second part we've probably got a bit of an answer to.
I would say I own 5 large armies, and then I own up to 12, about 12 that are fledgling or above.
Mhm.
And then I own at least one model from every particular range that I've
Wow.
painted. Now I own a lot of miniatures, but the ability to put paint on all those miniatures is going to take much more than I have time left in this world. So
Wow. Wow. But yeah, that's quite to say that. I just find like I can't even imagine. I can't even get like one mini painted. You're like the polar opposite to me, man. You get stuff done.
well, and I'll tell you this too. I can paint to a much better quality than what you see, right? But what I've come to the conclusion on is you have to paint and then you have to move on. And so that's really where I'm at in my hobby space is I want to get stuff like I want a high quality set of miniatures, but if I was to sit and paint and try and get to a Golden Demon level standard on every miniature that I paint, you're never going to get there. It's just it just takes way too much time, way too much blending, way too much whatever. And so in my hobby space now, I'm really just about trying to get some good looking units off the ground.
Yeah.
And produced.
Oh, nice. I'm going to come in now with a big question, and quite an open question here. But what is your favorite thing about the hobby?
I think it's originally I would say it was the peace of mind that it brought to me. Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of folks that kind of struggle with whatever mental health stuff that they have, and we don't have to go into that, but for me it was the peace of mind, it was the solitude, it was the ability to invest yourself into something that allowed your brain to operate a little bit better.
Right.
But now, because I've healed quite a bit since those years, I think now it's the people. Mm-hmm. On Instagram, it's absolutely the people. It's the wonderful hobbyists that are out there just trying to get through their own version of what it means to them.
Yeah.
And I've never met better people in my life. Like you guys, when I flew out to England, you were there to greet me, and you didn't know me from anything.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of people that you meet in this hobby. And I absolutely just, for me now, it's the people.
Oh yeah, that's a great answer. I kind of hope everyone answers with a similar sort of thing. So yeah, I always enjoy hearing that sort of answer.
I mean, we've had a couple of different ones, but the majority has been the community.
Yeah, which is great.
Much,
it means the hobby's going in the right direction if everyone answers with that similar sort of thing. So it's kind of like one of those big questions. There's no wrong answer, but like if you get the majority with that answer, then it's always like a big thumbs up for the hobby as a community as a whole. Like because then it's winning. You know what I mean? Like that's it. So yeah, no, awesome, man.
So, what is your favorite color and brand of paint? These don't need to be the same, so you could have a color from a particular color from a completely different brand.
Yeah. I will say brand of paint first. I absolutely loved the Reaper Master Series brand of paint. And I invested a lot in that back in, 20 or so years ago when I got more serious about the hobby. They come, and if you don't know, I mean, if you go check them out, they come in like a triad kind of thing. But since then, I've drifted back to Games Workshop. I think the pigmentation in Games Workshop paints is great. I don't know that the price point is amazing, but the pigmentation is nice. It covers very well. I've also used Army painters, which tend to be a little bit on the oily side unless you really mix them. But I think they have a lot of benefit for the cost. So I would say right now it's definitely the Games Workshop range of paints for the pigmentation. And then my favorite colors, you would be probably surprised, but they're two contrast paints that I find have very nice special effects. And one is the Flesh Terror Red.
Yep.
And I use that relentlessly for making scars and making small blood effects on things. Then the other one is the Plague Bearer Green, I think, or whatever the real color is called.
Yeah.
But it's that greenish color that will absolutely just transform other colors into something more exotic. And so I use that quite a bit too.
Nice. Yeah. I before you said it, I was actually going to guess Flesh Terror's red. Most people say Flesh Terror's red when they say contrast. Like it is a favorite.
Yeah, Flesh Terror's red. Plague Bearer Flesh is the other one that you're talking about, which is sort of like a very. It's not particularly a saturated green, but you can do a lot with it. And the other one for me has been recently Magos Purple for shading gold, of all things.
Really? Well, yeah, let me throw that one in there too. Druchii Violet is one that's good that I use for gold all the time. Yeah,
that's cool. I do.
I'm gonna have to check that other one out. I haven't used it on gold yet, so
I'll send you one of my custodies.
But yeah, the hobby as a whole. Was there any advice you would give anyone that wanted to get into the hobby generally?
Number one, move at your own pace. Paint the things that you enjoy. Don't try to struggle through something that you don't necessarily enjoy in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to tackle harder miniatures. And then don't be afraid to move through a miniature, call it done, and then start new things on the next one. Because, I think that's what I did in the early years is I refused to finish anything because, I just felt like it was never done or I was never good enough.
Right.
But, and then put it out there. Put it out there, accept the critiques that will come your way or ask for them specifically. And then if you want critiques on your work, ask specific questions. Because otherwise, most of us are going to say, oh, it's great work. It's amazing. Because we want to motivate you to continue to paint. But if you want specific feedback, ask for that. That way, folks that do have an eye for that sort of thing can give you the right feedback, can give you the right techniques that you can try to enhance your skill sets with. But if you don't ever ask, I think most people are polite enough to say, no, it looks great because we're giving you comments based on what we believe your skill level currently is at. And so you want that positive feedback. But if you want informed feedback, ask specific questions.
Yeah, opportunity. What I call opportunity for growth, rather than feeling that something's out of your reach.
Right. Yeah. Exactly that.
But I find it interesting your comment about proceed at your own pace, and that you open with that. I think that's kind of key as well. Daz, proceed at your own pace. Don't feel that you have to keep up with Mousekiller.
Okay, I would take that on board.
There's my revenge for the comment earlier. So, do you have a hobby hero or someone who particularly inspires you?
That isn't Dasmore Wargaming.
That's not a wargamer?
That's not Dasmore Wargaming.
No, that's not Daz.
Yeah, I was going to say Dante paints.
Not Dasmore Wargaming, so that's fine.
The rest of the International Society of Wargamers. I would say a lot of the original, I say original, but like the 3rd edition onwards, you had like Gav Thorpe that were in there. You had Darren Latham that joined the team. Looking at these icons, I would be thrilled to any day meet any of these guys in person, because to me, they're the ones that laid the groundwork to how my brain works now in the hobby. Especially, Gav, I think he was responsible for writing most of the material back then. And then of course they've moved on to other writers and other inspired folks, but it's all the original crew from when I came on, living vicariously through them, through the White Dwarf editions, and then trying to pick up whatever hobby tips they could give us or whatever written material that they would produce. Another is Felix, who's currently, he's running his own place over at Avatars of War. But all of those original guys, the Perry brothers, gosh, those guys were amazing, right? And all the modelers that are out there today are pretty amazing too. But those icons that really helped to spearhead this hobby and spearhead the concept of miniature making and storytelling, those are my true heroes.
Yeah, nice. And that sadly brings us on to our last question for Behind the Brush.
Oh, that's...
I know. So here we go. We'll go for it. Here we go. What are your aspirations for the future, and what can people expect to see from you?
So I'm getting up there in age now. I'm close to retiring from my current job. Within the next couple of years, I'm eligible to retire now, but I'm fully committed to finishing what I started out to do. Once I do that, I intend to bring this hobby into my life in a full-time manner, because I'll have the resources and the assets to do it at that point without having to really worry about whether or not I'm able to feed my family or whatever. But that the job I'm in my retirement will allow me to pursue that happiness. And so that's what I'd like to do. And then maybe have a chance at hacking away at a good portion of the collection that I have somehow managed to build up over the course of those 30 years.
Just make sure you do it at your own pace.
Yeah, at your own pace. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me right now, that's trying to get a lot of minis painted.
Yeah. I will check in a quick bonus question from one of our lovely subscribers that's in the Twitch chat. Jesus Model says, "Do you lick your brushes?"
Yeah.
Who doesn't? There we go. Nice quick answer. Yeah. Well, of course. But no. Right. Yeah. No. That is the end of Behind the Brush, but it's not the end of the Twitch stream. So if people on Twitch want to hang around, then that's great. We're happy to have you. But for those of you watching in YouTube land, that's this episode done. I just want to say a massive thank you to Mousekiller Miniatures for coming on and giving us some of your time and answering some questions for us. Yep.
For those in Twitch chat, I've obviously put the link to his Instagram in the chat. And at some point when Daz gets this up onto YouTube, he'll make sure that the link is in.
I will indeed. I will indeed. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and finally to get you on one of my YouTube videos as well, MK. I've been meaning to chat for so long. So,
yeah.
Glad to have
and
you
apologize for any internet issues that you've had.
That's all my fault. It's been absolutely fine. Yeah, it's been absolutely. Actually, let's finish this. Wrap up quick because we've said it now. But no, massive thanks to Mr. Dante Paints as well for being my co-host. So yeah, we're going to carry on over on Twitch. If you want to come and hang out with us on Twitch for future recordings and stuff, come over and give us a follow so you get notified. So yeah, until next time, everyone, stay safe and happy hobby.
Happy hobby.
Bye bye.